Now, today marks the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste, a global call to action to halve food loss and waste along supply chains in households by 2030. In Nigeria, the stakes are high. Around 40% of all food produced is lost or wasted, undermining efforts to feed a growing population and deepen food insecurity. Food losses also strain natural resources, contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, and reduce yields that could otherwise support millions. As the government works to strengthen agriculture and reduce hunger, efficient use of every harvest is crucial.
Well, for more on this, we're joined in the studio by the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Dr. Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi. Good morning, sir. Let's go straight into the questions. Yes. You're welcome. Now, what are the key challenges that are currently facing Nigeria's agricultural sector, and how is the government's renewed hope agenda addressing these to achieve the sustainable development goals related to hunger?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think at the outset, let me say first that, of course, the issue of food insecurity is what everybody has been talking about. And I think since the beginning of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, he was quick to understand the importance of food security for our country. And of course, he has declared a state of emergency in 2023, and we're still in that state of emergency. And what we have done is to identify the key issues that we need to tackle. You know, when you say food security, you are talking about food being available, accessible, affordable, but also in the right nutritional content. And all of this happening on a continuous basis. And so we realize it's going to be something we need to work for. And based on that, we have put in a number of measures. First, we reinvigorated the dry season farming, which we met on ground in 2023. And that led us into identifying the fact that Nigeria's potential in wheat production is very high. And beyond just the dry season farming, we also realized that Nigeria has some potential for wheat production in the rainy season. And that trial has taken place in, Plateau State, okay, and what do they call it, Cross River State. But then, let me just quickly say that one of the key issues, since you talked about food wastage and whatnot, yes, we know about post-harvest, and as a measure, we have put in place what we call a post-harvest connect, which brings all post-harvest actors in the ecosystem. And just recently, the Minister of Agriculture, my colleague, unveiled a post-harvest transformation plan when he attended the African Food System Summit. Now, all of this is designed to ensure that we are able to reduce post-harvest losses, both at the farm level, in transit, and also at the level of storage.
I was about dwelling on that when you mentioned it, because it's the International Day for Food Wastage and Control. How would you explain the fact that about $362.5 million amount to export rejects as a result of pestilence-infected products from the Nigerian food supply chain?
Well, that has to do with, product handling, where our farmers are using pesticide wrongly and the like. Now, I will tell you, as a result of the reform, the ministry has been, more or less reformed because the livestock ministry has been taken out. Now, arising from that, we have now fully established a plant health and pest control services department. Now, the target now is for us to have a program where we are going to, identify Nigerian youths who will serve as our safe spray ambassadors. That is already being developed currently. And the idea is for us to help farmers to identify the fact that they are supposed to use pesticide in a certain way, because there is a limit. And by the time you are going into international market, every country has set its own limit. And if you don't identify that limit,
just for clarity, I understand that there is a pest control department in the Ministry of Agriculture. Isn't this an indictment, a failure of that departmental control mechanism?
Well, it's not a failure per se, because you should understand that agriculture is actually a concurrent matter. And what we are doing is to ensure that we, at the federal level, because when it comes to export and other things, we're expected to play a critical role. And that is why identifying that these problems have been on, we are tackling that issue. This issue has been on. It has to do with the behavior of certain group of people who are involved in the trading of agricultural commodities. And as far as we are concerned, we have developed technologies that is going to help farmers to have like what they call the hermetic bag, where you store your product without necessarily having to even use pesticides. Now, all of this needs to be amplified and upscaled. And I want to assure you that they are a top priority in our programming. Now, the other aspect we need to understand is that we also have to teach our farmers, train our farmers to understand that at the level of your farm operations, when you start your pre-emergence, chemical application, up to when you are harvesting, you must take note of the fact that the markets you are targeting are having their set limit, and it must be respected. So these are issues we accept is a challenge, and we are tackling it head on.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Honorable Minister. And I appreciate that we're looking at inputs into the agricultural sector, because one of the issues that has been raised is the fact that a large number of these inputs are actually imported. And, I raised this issue because when we saw the recent GDP numbers, even as we look at the decline in inflation, food inflation is still proving to be extremely stubborn. And we've seen other sectors start of beginning to ease and contribute more to our GDP, but agriculture is lagging behind. So I'm curious as to when you think we'll start seeing some tangible results, because it's been a couple of years now of a number of strategies to intervene. And a Nigerian will tell you that the problem with our food security in Nigeria is not that there's no food. The markets are brimming with food, but that it is just simply too expensive. When do you predict that we will start to see more of a significant output from the agricultural sector, number one, and a faster decline in the price of food as well?
Well, I think I don't agree with your first statement that the issue of inflation. Agriculture actually contributed in bringing down the food inflation. Now, you realize that when you see the price of tomato, onions, pepper going up, usually go and check the records. That is when inflation begins to set in. And we in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security have realized that these three commodities I've mentioned, tomato, pepper, and onions, we've tagged them inflation-sensitive commodities. And for that reason, we have singled them out for special attention. And right now, as we speak, we are making progress, because the institutes that have the mandate for producing, the right varieties so that farmers will be able to have, more production with less losses, they are actually in the second phase of producing seed varieties for our farmers. Remember the tomato Ebola crisis we had? Remember the last year, onion farmers came out crying because price of onion went up. What was the reason? Because one of their members imported the wrong seed. Now, because of that, a lot of farmers had failed production. Now, we've waded into that, and the National Horticultural Research Institute based in Ibadan is tackling that head on, producing seed varieties, and that is why you have seen, the records we have seen has shown clearly that apart from oil palm, most of the agricultural commodities prices have gone down, and it contributed almost like about 19% to the reduction in the inflation. So I don't think the statement that maybe we are not making. No, we are making substantial progress. And like I said earlier, our intention is not to leave it at this level. Let me land, please. Let me land, please.
Sure.
It's not for us to stop at this. Like I've told you, the vision of the president is for us to have food sovereignty. And so our work is not done until we are able to get food year on year, month on month, across this country that is affordable to Nigerians based on the current economic realities. That is our work, and we are still work in progress. We are very optimistic about it, because right now we are pursuing all year-round farming, which means the 12 months of the year, we should see agricultural activities going on and on. And that is when we'll be able to do that. And in tackling that also, like I told you, the food post-harvest transformation plan we have just unveiled is designed to make sure that as we are increasing our production, our storage facilities will be enhanced, and various services will be rendered across the value chain so that we reduce the wastage you have talked about and then the post-harvest losses.
All right, I know Adesuwa wants to come in, but just to give context, what I was alluding to is the fact that when we look at that inflation number, it's an average of what's happening across the states. However, if you isolate the states individually, you'll find that the statistics are very different with regards to where there has been respite in the reduction of food inflation and where we've seen increases in food inflation. Adesuwa, please go ahead.
Yes, so you spoke about post-harvest loss and you said that you're making progress. Can you tell us what work has been done to reduce post-harvest loss?
All right. You see, at the level of
tangible outcomes.
Well, if you are saying with tangible outcomes, you want me to take you around the country. Let me say this to you.
What's the highlights?
The highlight is simply that, yes, we are having technologies now that will help farmers at the level of harvest to reduce this post-harvest. We are talking about the hermetic bags. We are talking about the hermetic drums, which is being produced and is available for farmers. Now, beyond that, processing, we are helping farmers because when you are able to process what you have harvested, then you've taken them to another layer or another level of storage in which reduction in post-harvest losses will be guaranteed. And these are the things we are working on. The Post-Harvest Connect, like I told you, is the umbrella or the platform that we have created to ensure this is happening. And I will definitely ensure that the next Post-Harvest Connect programs, you guys are specially invited to come and see for yourself what we are doing. And because that's where the entire report for the year will be presented.
Well, we look forward to that. And I just want to ask about, recently we have been having really heavy rains and devastating floods across the country. What contingency plans have you had in place? What is being currently implemented to, bolster and kind of protect in terms of food security? Do you have any measures that your ministry has been taking?
Well, I think, let me say this. While we appreciate the fact that if you look at the flood situation, it's a very serious issue occasioned by climate change, and that itself is something that everybody is dealing with. But for us here, what we have seen as an opportunity in this crisis is for us to work on water harvesting structures. So currently, we are working on having water harvesting structures. Some are ongoing, and we are still going to continue to do that. The idea here is for us to now save those waters and make it available for the all year round, farming activities that we have talked about earlier. And if you do this, then you will be turning a disaster into an opportunity. Rather than allow the water to flood completely, then we'll be having water harvesting structures that farmers can now have. And beyond the normal rainy season, they can continue to produce. That is the strategy we have put in place. But beyond that also, we are dealing with what we call varieties that are resistant to some of these flood situations, so that even when the water recedes, the crops are still able to continue to grow. Those are the strategies of resilience that we are dealing with.
I want you to quickly respond to this. How would you explain the reports coming from the U.S. Department of State that lack of transparency in the execution of the suspension of import duties on food items has reduced the impact it should have on the economy?
Lack of transparency?
Yes, in the execution of the import duty. That report came from the U.S. Department.
Well, I've not read the report, so I wouldn't know the context from which they are coming from. But let me say this: even at that time when the issue was mentioned, it was mentioned as a stopgap measure, and
so
within the context of a month, I think about 2 or 3 months that was given, and beyond that, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not aware of any import again. You see, when you have a food security challenge, as a government, you must find a way to tackle it. And knowing fully well that, yes, there will be some impact, because this is a knowledge-based activity also, we have decided to support farmers in manners that will help them to continue to produce. And just recently, we have flagged off the distribution of equipment and other inputs to small-scale farmers to support the all-year-round farming. I've just done the flag off in Niger State. So I believe as a government, while we are taking measures to stabilize, because government's role here is that you want affordability for your citizens, but you also want your farmers to be able to be productive in such a manner that they will be able to make some profit. So that balancing act is what we need to ensure we do. And that is what government is doing all along.
All right. Okay. Okay, Honorable Minister, our time is up, but I know it would be incomplete without one sentence from you. Last time we had Minister Kiari on the program, he gave us an update on the tractors. He said some modalities were being set up with regards to the 2,000 tractors from Belarus that were supposed to be distributed. Do you have an update on that, or is the situation still the same? Are you guys still resolving modalities?
I think between last week, even today, we're having another meeting, because one of the things we want to avoid is to avoid the mistake of the past, where you just come out with anything and then the thing ends up in a way that you are not planning. What Mr. President wants is, at the end of the day, will the average Nigerian farmers be able to access the services these tractors have to offer? And I think that is where our target is, so that we'll be able to reduce the 0.27 horsepower mechanization intensity right now to at least more than 1.5.
No problem. All right. Thank you so much, Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Dr. Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us here on Daybreak. And that's all we have time for on the program. I'm Vimbai Mutiniri Ekweyong, signing out from Lagos.
And I'm Adesu Agiwa Osage. It's goodbye from me.
Okay, and I'm being Ashiru saying goodbye and have a most pleasant week.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.